department. We approved her hiring, and she started onboarding June 1st. So she's getting acclimated well. We offered a contract for our position for MTSS math position in our teaching and learning. And we're waiting to hear back on that contract offer. It was just offered yesterday, I believe. So just waiting to hear back on that one. But those are the only two positions we had open right now or that we're onboarding. So we feel pretty good moving forward. Any staffing questions anybody has? Okay, I'll keep going then. We'll go into the fiscal update just to provide a quick fiscal update here before the end of the year. Everything that we're seeing coming in is looking like a positive fiscal year. We'll come on, Corey. Everything's seeming good, especially kind of supported by, we had 3 positions with Brenna leaving a little bit early. Obviously, we had budgeted for her to stay for the whole year, so we catching a couple months of salary there. We didn't fill Cheryl's position as she vacated last August. So again, that position was budgeted for the full fiscal year. Same with Max's position that he had left last year in June. We didn't fill that position until we filled it with Molly in June of this year. So we had 2 1/4 positions maybe that we didn't fill throughout the year. So that obviously led to a real positive fiscal year end for us. We also had some really good project revenues too that came in on a couple different projects. So we're just kind of finalizing. We got word from DPI that we're going to get some payments that we didn't feel were going to come through, but they've got them pushed through. So we just discussed that at our NDREA meeting today that we're going to get those approved through DPI. So we're going to submit for payment, but a lot of those things are going to come right down to like June 30th is what it's feeling like. So we're kind of pinching it here at the end, but it is going to lead to a positive fiscal year for SEEC this year. Any questions in depth on that? We'll bring a budget, full-scale budget for the planning committee discussion in August, and then present that full budget for approval to the board at our August retreat.
Sounds good.
Jolene's going to provide us an update on our operational plan, final report.
Yeah, let me bring that up here. So a majority of the things in our operational plan have been completed as of our May meeting, but a couple of just updates that are attached in the report. You can see primarily finishing out the goal for the superintendent survey process. We sent out the Q4 kind of connections. John heard from a couple of superintendents to follow up with, which he has done and is waiting to connect with them, as well as kind of our conversation along the plans to collect information from our member districts about their goals to help us kind of align our programs and services and also assist in reporting back to them. So we have that alignment and they can help capture those connecting points as well. And then the last piece was on the kind of human resource piece under completing the vital network process. We just did end of year survey and shared that with our work group, and that'll be going out for to all of our staff, showing increases in a number of areas around kind of voice and decision making. Any question on those couple of updates since our last meeting?
No, but I have a question, Jolene, or maybe just question of the group. This isn't what it's kind of related to this report, but it reminded me of the Medicaid codes. Can you put in your notes if there are other codes that we should seek at the state legislative level to advocate for, at least for me and other school districts? Because I've heard that we could use more codes. Is that true?
Really? You wanna address that?
Yeah, so right now, like Robin, one example is we're working with like the school nurses group and submitting, like, so you have to submit an SFN form for any new codes that you may want to explore. Doing some backgrounds as to like other states that are possibly doing something in a similar fashion. How would that would have like a financial impact on the state, so you have to do like some background on it, so that's kind of what we also went through with the school site codes when those got added. And then you fill out that SFN form. The SFN form then goes to like their policy at the state Medicaid office to review. And then works alongside that team or that group that submitted, just to see if all of those codes would be applicable to be here in North Dakota and if we would be able to do those. So we are in the process of submitting one for some additional like school nursing codes right now. And so I think that's just something that is continued to be worked on in different areas, whether it's school psych, school nurses, and trying to figure out what some of those missing codes are.
Thank you. And if you could communicate that to us, that would be great. I just didn't know that there was a centralized effort. So because that will be one of our legislative priorities, at least for the Fargo School District next session. And it sounds like you're going to do all the work for us, so there's no reason for us to double the research.
Thank you. That's also very good information. I also sit on the public health board and have for many, many years. And obviously school nursing is part of that. And this is, I wasn't aware of this either, so.
For sure.
Great
Any other
question. Go ahead, John.
Okay, we want to move on to the next thing, the annual work plan monitoring.
Yep.
Starts with the GP5 committee structure. You'll see that's in our packet. It's in kind of the big attachment that's linked in there. It starts with page 1, 2, and 3. That what we're looking for is approval of the edits. If you recall from our last meeting, we had a little bit of confusing language that was carried over from previous policies on our committee structure. In particular, the planning committee and the executive committee. And what we decided was moving the executive committee to be an ad hoc committee, meeting when necessary to carry out board functions as an executive committee. And then we cleared up the membership on that a little bit to be the chair, the vice chair, and lead administrator. We had the previous immediate past chair and the lead administrator elect in there, which really didn't apply because we don't really have a lead administrator elect. And a lot of times our past chair is not really connected with SEEC any longer or the board any longer. So looking at a few of those changes and then moving into the planning committee, we just clarified who's appointed there and a little bit more of the work that's associated with that. We had some of the authority in there was listed by the board or the board committee chair. So we just clarified that that would be by the board chair and just a couple small edits. So just to clarify the structure of those two based upon our last board meeting. So I think we would need to review those edits and approve those.
And they were all pretty basic. We're going to see a lot more of those as we go through this process when it's new, and they all made sense.
This is Corey, I would make a motion to approve.
Thanks, Corey.
I'll second.
Was that Justin?
That's Phil.
Oh, thanks, Phil. We have a first and a second. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving the recommendations as presented, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to our work plan. With tentative meeting dates.
Yep. I think we got August 13 would be our retreat here. Oh, thanks for putting it up there. Yeah.
Can you see those?
Yep.
Okay.
Any big conflicts that anybody sees with any of those?
it seemed to work well this last year to have the planning committee first, so that we could kind of figure out if there were any additional items that needed to rise to the full board, and then also to be able to kind of go through the agenda and get some feedback ahead of time. So we kind of set that cadence out again for next year.
Is that a Tuesday or a Wednesday?
Oh, you are correct. Fix that. So that should be a Wednesday, and then November 6th is a Thursday.
Mhm.
Okay.
So if it's the Wednesday, that's our teacher's first day back. So I wouldn't,
Okay.
well, maybe it'd be a tougher day for me if it works for
And-
everybody else.
And
Does
the
the
5th
Tuesday
is
work?
actually a Tuesday.
Okay. I can adjust those. Looking at the retreat date, would we want to do the Tuesday, the 12th? I know last year sort of ran into some issues having it the week later. We could certainly try to move it earlier. Thoughts on what works?
Well, it'd be nice if we could have everybody there. So if Tuesday worked better, or moving it back to the 6th instead of the 13th is possible too. I know a lot of people are starting early this year.
Yeah, I mean, I could make either of those work personally.
If we stick to the Tuesday, the 12th, that would be a little bit better. Then we can leave the planning committee on the 5th, the week before, without
Okay.
having. So was there anyone else that had a conflict with August 12th, Tuesday, the 12th?
Yeah, the 12th works a lot better for me. I have professional development on the 13th for staff.
Thanks, Phil. Okay. We will plan to move that to the 12th.
And are we starting at 10?
Oh, yeah, I have a conflict on the 12th. I have to be in Jamestown at 3 o'clock.
Okay. I don't know if we'll need the full 4 hours. We can go back and look. We could look to shorten that, like a 10 to 1 or something. Would that be feasible, Heidi?
Or if people wanted to, we could move it
Yep,
up an hour
start-
too. We could start an hour earlier.
Yeah, starting earlier. Yeah, as long as I'm in Jamestown right at 3, so leaving at 1:30, I can get there easily. And I'm having a really poor connection. I'm sorry, I'm at a conference, and so I'm gonna drop off. And Jolene has my cell phone. If you need anything else from me, she can just text me.
Okay, thank you,
Thanks,
Heidi.
Heidi. Well, why don't we start it earlier? Why don't we start it at 9, and that way we wouldn't have does that work for everybody?
I agree, Patty. That sounds good.
Okay. And then we'll see where,
Andy and Justin, does that work for you guys? 9 o'clock that day? You guys probably be driving in that morning.
Yes, that works for me.
Okay,
Yep, that works.
Yep, John, that's fine.
and then do we want to leave the planning meeting for Tuesday or move it to Monday? Because the 5th is a Tuesday.
Wow. Really?
Justin, you
Really had a struggle bus on that.
2024 or something?
August 4th is Monday. Sorry, Jolene.
No, it's okay.
And you must actually have the wrong calendar because Monday,
I
October
do.
28th is actually the 27th.
All right, I must have brought up last year.
24, 25.
Okay. Okay.
And also, yeah, all the dates are wrong. November 6th is wrong too.
Let's try this.
I think you linked there. I think.
And I'm okay with Monday or Tuesday. I just want to make sure we,
Okay, it's all wrong. We'll send it out. Is Monday for the planning committee work okay, or would you?
yeah, we usually do that. It's either one is fine, so that's
Okay.
good.
All right, I will fix and send out.
Okay,
Good. All right. The next one's your guys' self-evaluation. And you can see that that's a bulk of the pages that are in that attachment there are self-evaluation. Not many concerning areas as I reviewed it. One area that Perhaps from a SEEC perspective, we could be a little stronger is really relaying more legislative focus items. This particular year, there wasn't a tremendous number of high impact SEEC legislative items that I would say. There was only one that was a pretty simple change that gave DPI the authority to directly contract with REAs, and they didn't have to go through the preferred vendor process. So that would have been really the only real strong legislative one that was very impactful for REAs. But overall, that is an area that I saw ranked on many people's reports as needing more information or looking for more information. So we'll definitely take that into consideration as we move into the next session in a couple of years to be sure that we provide more consistent fiscal or updates on that legislative process.
And I think the partnerships, I think Robin brought that up, the partnerships with the districts. Sometimes we don't know what we don't know. And, you know, having those conversations that maybe there's more that we could do together that would affect SEEC along with our districts earlier on.
Yep. Was there any other areas that stood out to anybody else that we'd like to have discussion on?
Not from me. Anyone else?
Patty, do you need to accept those as being monitored or in compliance?
Yeah, we should just acknowledge that we did it.
All three of those?
Yes.
Okay.
I'll make the motion to state those policies are in compliance.
Thank you, Corey.
Second,
So is that Robin?
it is.
Sorry. Thank you. Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting as in compliance, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Thank you. All right, then we have ED3 Personnel Administration.
Yes, that one would be me. That's submitted there. Thanks for sharing it, Jolene. You guys can all read through it, so I'm not gonna get too belabored into all the wording, but I'd just like to highlight a couple areas. One area, effectively handling complaints and concerns. Whenever we have issues that come up at SEEC, they're first brought either to me or through their supervisor, the staff supervisor, and then discussed, and then we share that out as their executive team. If it did illustrate all the way up to a board action of any level, then we would start with the executive committee and go through that process. But we didn't have any issues that elevated to that level from concerns this year. So we felt good about that. Safety and well-being were a couple things that were raised in the Vital Network. Some of the safety things were dealt with pretty easily and readily. It was about building concerns and about vehicles and things like that, winter travel and some of those things. So those things were pretty immediately dealt with, and then we've got a plan of action for a couple of the other areas. The other couple areas that I'd like to highlight is the compensation and benefit plans. This was a little bit of an area at the beginning of the year, way back, if you recall back to last June. There was a significant change in what we offered for healthcare from SEEC. We made a substantial change. There were some ramifications of that. We listened to staff. We met with staff individually. I did, for all those that were concerned about it, listened to their concerns, and then Brenna and myself worked with ND Fit to develop some different plans that we could offer. We offered a gap plan, and then we offered another plan that helped carry people through the end of the fiscal year on their deductible out of pocket, max out of pocket. This year coming into salary discussions was a new process for me, coming from a school district model, more with South Valley Board, Rural Cast Board, where the board negotiates with the teachers, and then that's how salaries are determined. At SEEC, it's quite a different process. Apparently, the executive director determines what everybody is going to get compensated. So I got to learn through that process. We changed it a little bit slightly. The process that we went through is I met with Brenna and we looked at a projection of where we were at fiscally. where we were hoping to come in at the end of the year. This was a projection in March. Then we determined what would be a satisfactory salary increase for a majority of people. So we set that as a standard, and then I met individually with each director group and determined individual salary within each director group of how people would be compensated based upon their workload and based upon where they're moving. So we moved a couple people with some number of days on their contract. We advanced a couple people in salary based upon those conversations with individual directors. Then we went through the evaluation process through the end of the year. We also informed all staff of any medical plan adjustments for the 25-26 year at our annual staff meeting in May. So a little bit different process, but I felt like it was a great learning process for me because it allowed me to get a really in-depth conversation with each director to understand each individual person's kind of needs and areas of focus and compensation. So that was helpful. I think what we also offered was any individual staff members that had concerns about their compensation knew that my door was open and they were invited to come in and have individual conversations with me too. And about 3 people took me up on that. And we did. We had really positive conversations. We laid out why they were able to express what they felt. And then I met back with the directors again of those individual staff members to talk more thoroughly to say, well, is this right or wrong? Or is this accurate? And then we made appropriate determinations based upon that. Robin, you got a question?
I do, just out of curiosity and for my personal knowledge at work here. How did you weigh cost of living and performance? Was there priority? Is cost of living assumed with performance on top?
Yes, that we said, we didn't really call it a cost of living because everybody's cost of living is different. So we didn't like to call it a cost of living, but everybody received a base percentage increase that all staff were presented with. Some people, based upon how everything was structured, that's the increase that they received. Other people, based upon conversation with the directors, may have received slightly more than that, based on what their work performance was throughout the year, and or if they were assigned additional duties, or if they were needed more days. So some people's contracts adjusted more days. We also compared to the field, the competitive market, and took a look at what would be the competitive market on a couple positions. And there were a couple positions that we adjusted salary accordingly because of the competitive market that we were looking at. So we took all those things into consideration. Also taken into consideration, especially in our financial department, vacated position of Brenna and moving some people into new positions there. So that was probably our area that saw the most substantial change in salary, was those people that were moving around to assume some of those duties that Brenna had previously assumed.
Yeah, that makes sense. Did you come up with an objective format or anything about performance? Or was it just through casual observation?
We used both the evaluation tool that we have, but I don't know that we had an objective formula necessarily of it. But it was mostly based upon performance evaluations or director input for what the performance of those individuals were.
Thank you. I'm not saying that's right or wrong. I'm just curious. Thank you.
It was good questions. Then the next area, we completed all of the performance evaluations. The last part that I'd like to just touch on, because it was part of what we went through this year, was number 8 there, organizational culture. As Jolene referenced, just to highlight a couple of the questions that we saw in the Vital Network that were areas of growth that I took some impact on, was most days I look forward to coming to work. We improved from a 5.3 to a 5.78, which I felt was substantial. I enjoy coming to work. I guess I would have ranked that one high for me because I do enjoy coming here to work in my first year. Overall, satisfied with my current job, improved from a 5.38 to a 5.72. And I want to keep working at SEEC, improved from a 5.4 to a 6.0. So some nice growths in some very targeted areas, pre and post survey questions. Moving forward, we have drafted already some staff meeting plans for the upcoming year that has been shared out with our leadership team, and we'll discuss that further with our staff. A few areas of focus is we want to discuss what transparency means. Is that still is a term that's thrown out a lot amongst a lot of agencies. And I think one of the pieces that you got to get to is a foundational understanding of what transparency is.
Mhm.
And you're able to move forward to illustrate how transparent an organization is. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about belonging and one more area that I can't think of off the top of my head. We have three definite areas of focus. We have 5 staff meetings planned out for the next year with topical areas of discussion at each one, where we're going to be in breakout sessions and discuss the staff, and then come with some good ideas on how to continue to grow that culture here at SEEC and make it a wonderful place to work. Any questions on the EDE3 personnel administration?
No, sounds good. And entertain a motion to approve as in compliant.
I'll make a motion of incompliance for all indicators.
Thank you, Andy.
Second, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany. Is there any discussion? Thank you for the detailed information, John. It makes it a lot easier. All right, all those in favor of approving the ED3 personnel administration, say aye.
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 Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, moving on to our financial.
I'll highlight just a couple pieces in here. As I illustrated up above, we had a good year. We have a lot of financial pieces in place that ensure that things get accomplished when they're supposed to get it accomplished, and we have audits in place and approvals through me and Hunter, and we have all those pieces put in place to ensure that we have effective and efficient financial solutions for SEEC. When we look at our other business partners as well, we do a lot of help and support with them. So we need to have strong fiscal processes in place. Our audit was approved for 22-23. It's basically completed by 23-24 as well. There's just some last minute financial pieces that Hunter submitted, and we're just waiting for Julson to confirm that. We do have a budgeting process, as you guys know. We'll present that budget to the planning committee, and then we'll approve that at our annual meeting. Any discrepancies that come up big throughout the year, we certainly share out with the board, discuss with the planning committee on a quarterly basis, as indicated as well, where we do a more in-depth review. Overall, as I illustrated, we did really well this year. Feel good about the processes we have in place, and we do our best to keep the board informed of all those budgetary things. Any big questions on the financial planning or administration part of it?
No, if not, I'd entertain a motion to accept ED4 financial planning administration as incompliant.
This is Corey. I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Corey.
Second, Brittany.
Thank you, Brittany. Is there any more discussion? All right, all those in favor of approving ED4 as incompliant, say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, last one is our governing board member approval. Looks like we have somebody new. Congratulations, Brittany, for staying on.
Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Colness is, for those who don't know, he's superintendent in Kindred past couple years. So we had a rural cast meeting last week, and he was elected by the rural cast superintendent's representation to be the next representative of those 4 schools. I'm excited to bring Mr. Colness on. He's done a really nice job. He's got a lot of great experience from Minnesota. which there's a couple areas that I think will be really helpful to the board, so, yeah. And then also excited that Brittany has agreed to stay on again for another term with us, so happy to have her on board as well. Do we do an election of a vice chair today, or do we wait till next meeting for that?
We should do that at our August
Yeah.
meeting. So Corey, Mike's taking Corey's position.
Correct.
Correct.
So how do we keep Corey on then?
That's a tricky process. We might let Corey do some other work for a minute.
So how do we get him back on?
We'll work on that with Robin after a while.
Hmm. All right. Yeah, I think we'll do the election of officers after the beginning of the year in August. So, and thank you, Corey, for serving on this group with us. We've certainly appreciated all your expertise, and I'm sure we'll see you again.
Yes, thank you. I've loved being part of this.
And do we need to formally, I don't think we have to formally approve Brittany and Mike staying on these positions.
We
don't believe
typically
so.
do. We typically have.
Okay. Then I'd entertain a motion to allow Brittany and Mike to become our new regional directors for the upcoming year.
I'll make that motion. This is Phil.
Thank you, Phil.
Second, Andy.
Thank you, Andy. Is there any discussion? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Those opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Congratulations. All right, anything else, John, for the rest of the day? That was quick and painless today.
We had to go fast. Phil's on his way to the golf course.
Oh,
Sitting in the
Beautiful.
parking lot.
beautiful day for that.
Summer conference, they have their golf scramble this afternoon, so.
Mm. Well, enjoy the rest of your summer. We'll see you guys in August, and we'll have Jolene make sure we have the dates set up on our calendar so they're correct. Thanks,
Thank you,
everybody.
everyone.
We'll officially adjourn. Take
Thank
care.
you. Bye.
Bye.